clocking up.
Okay. Give me a shout when you're ready.
Yeah, should be fine now.
Okay, great. Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us tonight. This is a very special meeting, Frome Town Council annual town meeting, which is much less formal than our normal meeting, so that's rather lovely. We are being recorded, as you can see, on YouTube, so as long as you're happy with that, it'd be lovely to have you stay with us. Please, could I ask you all to mute yourselves for the time being? And if you have any questions, maybe you'd be kind enough to post them through the Q&A board. And that way Rachel will be able to keep a handle on things, and she can introduce you and unmute you as and when we invite you in to speak. The first item on the agenda tonight is to agree the minutes of the last meeting we had, which, believe it or not, was on the 3rd of April, 2019. I know it's a long time back, but I'm hoping you've all had the chance as councillors to have a look at those minutes, and anyone else who took the time to read. First of all, are there any questions about it or any comments anyone would like to make? I see no hands. So could I have someone please to propose those minutes? Sarah, thank you. And a seconder? Mark, thank you. And all in favour? I'll leave it for you to do the counting, Paul, if that's okay.
That's a majority.
Majority, okay.
Yep.
Is there anyone who had any issue with that? No, okay, thank you. And now a lovely little bit on the agenda for me, which is to go through the Mayor's Civic Awards. And this is a lovely thing for a mayor to be able to do, because it gives us the opportunity to pick out some people that we feel have done a wonderful job throughout the year. And I've been delighted to choose 4 people, 3 individuals and a group that I think have made quite a big difference to Frome. Please bear in mind, of course, that although this is my opportunity to award, it's done very much on behalf of the whole council. Sadly, 2 of the people who were granted those awards can't be with us tonight. The first one was Dougie Brown, who manages Active and In Touch. But I would like to give him a big shout out, both personally and publicly, because along with his team and a fantastic set of volunteers, he has made a huge difference and gone way over and above the sort of work that would be expected of them in that group. So he's ensured that all members have received the right support, which has been paramount this year, and they've helped more people than ever. The list of people they help has actually grown enormously this year. So a big thank you to Dougie for all his work. And just on a personal level, yeah, nice to give him some applause, that's lovely. Just on a personal level, I wanted to say a thank you to Dougie. It's a shame he's not here, although I have already thanked him, because he very kindly donated his bunch of flowers to me yesterday, which I thought was very sweet. Bless. And Katie Harris, sadly, also can't be with us tonight. She's poorly, sadly. But Katie runs Katie's Kitchen. Most of you will probably know within the Saturday markets. She's down there usually selling her wonderful wares. And she also works very closely with Fair Housing for Frome, doing all the food at 5 cooking. So she does a fantastic job, gives up an awful lot of her time. And of course, the other thing is that she was also instrumental in helping to bring back the Saturday market when we were trying to put pressure on Mendip to bring it back. So she did an awful lot of work on that. So a big thank you to Katie, and please get well soon. Thanks, Katie. Terry Pitts, and Terry, I'm very pleased to say, is here with us tonight. Terry, it's lovely to see you. And I want to give you a huge public acknowledgement of the work you do, and a lovely private thank you for all the work you do with the community fridge. I mean, you work tirelessly with all the people who contribute to the fridge. You make sure it's regularly stocked. You do a fantastic job, and always with a smile on your face. And I have to say, it's been lovely, because I know sometimes when the fridge has been overstocked, you've been kind enough to take the excess around to some of the sharing boxes in town. And one of that has been my sharing box, and I've been delighted to see that. So very many thanks to you, Terry. You do a superb job. Thank you. And finally, my group award goes via Helen Kingston to the Frome medical practice. Helen, you do the most amazing work up there. I mean, I think we've always been in awe of your work anyway, but the fact that through this year, particularly with the pandemic going on, the Frome medical practice has been so instrumental in keeping us all safe, keeping us well informed, making sure that people can still get to their appointments. And you've done some amazing work just managing us all through this really difficult time. On top of that, of course, more recently even, you've been doing some incredible work to roll out all the COVID vaccines. And I think, you know, we're outstripping a lot of other places in the Southwest in that front. So we're so indebted to you for doing a fantastic job at the practice. You're a really great, efficient and very friendly bunch. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for keeping us all safe the way you do. So thank you, Helen. The only thing I would like to add to all that is I was only very sorry that I wasn't able to personally come along and give you your awards yesterday. I would love to have done that. As you know, I'm going through my treatment, so it wasn't really safe for me to do that. But lovely that Andy stood in for me, and I want to give a big thank you to you, Andy, for stepping up to the plate, as you often do, to stand in for me and doing a grand job by all accounts. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. I just second my thanks to everyone who got awards as well. You do a fantastic job. It's great to meet you guys and hang out for a bit and have photos with you. So thanks very much, guys.
Great. Oh, and I did mean to mention, of course, that when I was talking about Dougie, that he was very kind and has donated a plaque to Frome Town Council on behalf of the, because of the support that we've given him as a council for Active and In Touch throughout the year. And that was a lovely thing to receive. So another little thank you for Dougie. Right, well, Helen and Terry, you're very welcome to stay with us for the rest of the meeting if you'd like to, but if you want to duck out, then we fully understand that, but thanks again. I'd now like to just do a quick whistle-stop tour through my year as mayor. And I think Laura is going to show us some slides very quickly. I'm not going to hold you up too long with each one, but I did want to just very quickly go through. And I just really wanted to start by saying that when I became mayor, or was about to become mayor, I had so many wonderful ideas about what I would love to do. And that was going to include all sorts of fun days in the park, street parties throughout the town, all sorts of social events that I wanted to host, getting all the old mayors together for a huge reunion, having little mini gatherings in the town centre, and even thinking about having a mayor's ball. It was going to be full of social events. Sadly, that wasn't to be. So anyway, let me talk you through what did happen. If you could kick us off, Laura, that would be great. And of course, it all actually started back in May when I was taking over the chain from our outgoing mayor, Mark Dorrington, and handing over my deputy chain to Andy Wintmore. So we had a very safe, socially distanced meeting for the exchange of the chains. And of course, then who on earth would have expected the year we had ahead of us? We thought it was going to be maybe for 2 or 3 weeks at that stage, and we'd be back to normal, but not a bit of it. We moved on to, I'm just going to let you roll these over, Laura. I won't keep shouting at you. There you go. This was helping to plant a couple of trees with my grandchildren when we had a lot of tree planting going on, and we still have. Always lovely to get people involved in that, coming up with ideas. This was a couple of walnut trees I helped my grandchildren to plant. And also, of course, I helped out with some of the watering that we needed to do once the trees were planted. They need to be looked after, of course. So up at Waylands, I went up to do a bit of watering and mulching of the plants. And you can see on that final photograph, because I didn't have all the events to attend this year, and there wasn't going to be an awful lot of ribbon cutting as there usually is, I started to introduce something slightly different, which was a weekly walkabout. And this was the first photograph I took as part of the beginning of my weekly walkabout. So it became quite a thing in the town. And you can see here, this was the beginning of it all, just walking through Cheap Street, visiting the pubs, which you have to do periodically, don't you? Just have a quick slip in. The cafes and the chocolate bar. Now, what three things could be better to kick me off? But just really, this is just a token of some of the places I stopped on through as I was going through Cheap Street rather. Opening the Flow Bar and welcoming them to Frome was absolutely lovely. I ended up having a little chat, and I'm really sorry because I can't remember the guy's name, but wonderful interviewer who wanted to talk about compassion at Frome and about your work, of course, Helen and Jenny, setting up compassion at Frome, and that was being promoted outside Hunting Raven. And a picture with Actimon in Touch in the park, getting involved with them when they actually take their volunteers up to the park, and that was a lovely day too. Here I am flashing the chain again at various places in the Saturday market, popping into Lungi Baba's, visiting Caford's, the butcher up at the top of Catherine Hill, and Pizza Folk, and down at the community fridge when it reopens, which was rather lovely. I went with my partner, Steve, my consort, to Wells Cathedral, celebrating the 75th anniversary of World War II, which was a lovely memorial service, and actually quite nice. I quite like the whole dressing up thing. So for me, it was a lovely opportunity to dress up, flash the chain with a lot of other dignitaries, and it's a lovely part of being there. So I thoroughly enjoyed that. You can see at the top there, I did a bit of work, as I do with Fair Housing for Frome as a director of that company. We do quite a lot of promotion within the precincts, and it was lovely to go and spread the word that day. Dropping in to see Dr. Bike when we had the work going on at the Boyle Cross to fix all the bikes. In the this top right-hand one was actually meeting the the leader of the council of Bridgewater Council and his partner, helping out with the Frome Rotary when they were promoting an event, and visiting Broadway allotments. I went up to have a look at what they're doing and the amazing work that's going on up there. Taking walks down by the river, and I devoted a whole column to this one day because we have got some beautiful walks around the town. So it was rather lovely to focus on what's around at the river and everything done at the bottom of Welsh Mill and the Adventure Park and the skate parks and what have you. So that was really lovely. Saying hello to Crew Barbers and Fish King in Rodden. I went to visit them and did a quick visit to the Blue Boar on the way back home. So something to wet the whistle on the way back. Our wonderful bike jumble day that was so successful. That was a great day and raised a lot of money. Quick little visit to the rugby tots in Frome, which was fun. Up to the Dissenters Cemetery. And I was amazed. I have to be honest and say, hand on heart, I'd never actually been there before. So it was a wonderful opportunity to be invited and to go along and see the wonderful work they're doing to try and get it back into some sort of shape as well. So meeting Jim was lovely to have that conversation. And I spent a lovely day showing off the town to Mary Claire Rodwell, who is the High Sheriff of Somerset. So that was quite intriguing to talk to her about the work that's involved there. Chatting to some of the other people on Catherine Hill at the top here, Pilia and the Frome Hardware Shop, and then back down into the town for part 2 and Nook, having a chat with them to see how businesses are doing. Top right here was actually visiting the pop-up Christmas shop run by Hunting Raven down at the Silk Mill. They had a very successful day promoting their Christmas books. And it was lovely to be able to go and officially open H.E. Williams the Butcher after their awful arson attack and being rebuilt. So that was a joyous morning, really pleased to do that. And of course, my son actually did all the tiling in there as well. So that was a little personal vested interest too. I spent the morning once up with Rachel Clark and all the police up at the police station, learning about their work, fascinated by the data they have at their fingertips and all the wonderful work they do. Window Wonderland, as you can see, taking pictures around here. And Halloween, I decided to dress up and go around and scare the townsfolk. So put a costume on for a minute. And then went down to Rodden Meadow on another day to talk to the residents about how they wanted to see it develop, and to get some ideas from them about plans that we had and how they saw that working for them. There was a very strange but different, wonderful remembrance service this year, of course, all in isolation, so none of the normal pomp and circumstance. We did have the bugler there, but it was nevertheless a very moving service, and I was very pleased to be a part of it. Believe it or not, this is actually outside our sparkly Christmas tree, but you can't see the lights very well there. But lovely to be down by the tree. And of course, some more of Light the Night, all these wonderful nights that are lit up around Frome are an absolute joy to behold. So a couple of pictures of Light the Night, and the one at the bottom is my own pathetic little attempt at actually joining in. So that was up at my bedroom window. This was chatting to our lovely beat bobbies in the town. This was, I think, the first day after the second lockdown opening up. So they were there to supervise and make sure everything was going okay. Choosing the mayor's Christmas card, which was a fabulous event, over 200 entries, and absolutely wonderful lad who actually compiled the winning card. It was just a joy to go and give him a winning voucher as a prize. I went in to support Discover Frome. I used to be a volunteer there, and it was lovely to be able to see them opening up again and doing all the great work they do. Supporting the fundraising at the Black Swan when they decided to sell off all their pieces of art for under £300. And this was finally, I actually got round to doing some ribbon cutting, and this was to open the refurbished building at Hayesdown School, where both my grandchildren go. So they were able to join me for the photograph, which was rather lovely. And of course, reopening the markets, which was absolutely great, and creating my own sharing neighbourhood box, which is now in place up at Wych Road. And very productive. I'm pleased to say it's used to a great extent, and it's always turning over some fantastic things. So lovely to see. So I'm chuffed that everybody's using it the way they are. So as well as all those things, of course, I do write a regular column that goes into the paper. And often get quoted for various bits and pieces in the local papers. Do an awful lot of interviews. I particularly love this one, doing the giant pod with Andy. We had a great time recording that. Absolutely loved it. So thank you, Andy. And there is actually, while we're at it, another video clip that I would quickly like to take you through. This is typical of the sort of videos I'm asked to do, and this one was really about how to persuade people to become a counsellor. I'm Anita Collier, Frome Town Councillor, currently Mayor, and Frome Town Council, of course, is also part of the Mendip area, so we have Mendip District Council as well. Why did I become a councillor in the first place? I think really one of the things that was most important to me was what actually happens in this town, and I'd watched for so long with the Independents for Frome operating as a totally independent council, making such enormous change in the town. And I've lived here for so many years, probably over 40 years now, and I really wanted to be part of helping to create that change and sustain it. And that's really what drew me to the council in the first place. So that's why I was very happy to join, and I'm absolutely loving it and seeing the sort of differences that we can make. And I think one of the greatest things that came out of the first lockdown was a huge campaign that Frome Town Council ran, talking about checking in on your 5 nearest neighbours. And that really galvanised people into working with each other, knocking on each other's doors, finding out if they needed shopping or any prescriptions collecting, all those sorts of things. And it's made a huge difference. It's still continuing now, and it seems to be that it's held. So that as we go forward, hopefully even beyond lockdown, that will continue so that neighbours keep talking to each other. And as an offshoot of that, I've also been very involved in something called the neighbourhood networks. And we're creating neighbourhood networks all around the town. I think at the moment we've got 30 or 40 street networks of people who share ideas, who have socially distanced fun by doing things on their doorstep, and having all sorts of things like cheese and wine evenings or big celebrations of one sort or another. So we're building on those as a town, and we hope to expand them. And we're currently on Zoom dealing with a lot of those people every week to talk to them about how they can actually spread the word, and how they can share even more across the town. So it's growing, and it's absolutely wonderful to be part of that. I think anybody can do this. You know, there are so many opportunities for us all to affect what goes on in our towns and parishes. And I would urge anybody to stand for council. You know, when the elections come up next May, wouldn't it be wonderful if more people actually took an interest and wanted to play a part? And I can tell you from personal experience that the results of that are really quite heartwarming. So I would urge anyone to go for it. Thanks, Laura. Apologies for it looked as though I was speaking a foreign language and being dubbed, didn't it? So I'm not quite sure what happened there. Anyway, you got the gist of it, I hope. But I just really wanted to say, really, I hope that little snapshot has given you a rough idea of what my year has been like. I have had the most incredible time. I hope it reads for you that I really am for Frome. I am Frome through and through, like a stick of rock. I love this town with all my heart. And I just wanted to put this quote in at the end because it meant a lot to me, that a meaningful life is not about being rich or being popular or being highly educated or being perfect. It is about being real, being humble, being able to share ourselves and to touch the lives of others. And it is only then that we could have a full, happy and contented life. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart that this has given me a very fulfilled, happy and contented part of my life. So I'm very conscious that thank you very much, Laura. Very conscious that for the last few weeks while I've been undergoing treatment, I've had some amazing support from my colleagues at the council, both staff and councillors alike. And I want to give you all a huge thank you from me personally, because that's meant an awful lot. And I would also at this stage like to thank all the businesses and all the residents in Frome who have been wonderful with their messages, their comments, their questions, and for taking the time to chat to me in all my weekly walkabouts. I've had a ball. I've learned a massive amount. And I think Frome has some very, very special in it. And I've loved every minute of being your mayor. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So does anyone have any questions or comments?
You nailed it. You smashed it. Completed it. Well done.
Thank you. And thank you for all your support, Andy. You have been amazing. You stood up to the plate so many times for me, particularly of late. And I think you're going to make an amazing mayor.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ali Barkley's got her hand up, Anita.
Okay, Ali?
Yeah, I just want to say, Nita, how inspiring I found you really the whole year, but especially since you've been having treatment, and the openness and honesty that you've written and talked about it. And I have just found it personally very, very moving and courageous. And really, it's helped me to kind of look at this year for myself and about life Generally, you're so full of it, and I love it, and I love you.
Oh, thank you, Ali. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anita, Maxine has her hand up.
Maxine.
I really want to echo what Ali just said. And, you know, Anita, I know it hasn't been the year that you really hoped and dreamed for, but my God, in your own inimitable way, you've created a year that has brought so much to so many people in a time of lockdown. And look what you've done. I mean, all the places you visited, all the people that you've brought warmth to, and a special thank you to you for how kind the time you've taken on me. We've both had our trials and tribulations, shall we say, this year on top of COVID. And you are an incredibly special person. I cannot wait to see what you're going to do next. And we all love you. Thank you, Anita.
Thank you, Maxine. Thank you. Okay. So time to move on, I think. And the next item on the agenda is a presentation from Anne Hills, leader of the council. So over to you, Anne.
Anita, sorry, Anne, just before you start, if anyone has any questions, I'm sure we'll be able to sort of collect them up and talk about them at the end as well. So,
Okay.
Well, I must say, Anita, that's a tough act to follow, but I'll do my best. I'm so proud of the way this town has pulled together over the last year. It's been a challenging year, but my naturally positive attitude means I have to focus on just some of the really wonderful things that have happened in Frome over the last year. One thing is certain, our community has stepped up to the plate. Our medical practices, our care homes, our schools, our shop workers, and all the other people in roles that have kept our town going, from those emptying the bins to those emptying the bedpans. Active and in Touch, Fair Frome, our community drivers, and all the other amazing charities. And of course, our staff have been right there with them. Frome had over 300 volunteers who came forward to help, whether to shop for a shielding neighbour, collect prescriptions, take someone to a hospital appointment, volunteer with Fair Frome, or phone someone who would otherwise be isolated. And those are just the people we could count. Throughout the town, there were endless acts of community and kindness. Sharing cupboards have started to pop up around the town, as well as the Wildabout sharing boxes that the Rangers have built, and the 2 community fridges that we have. We took our place in a role of community leadership and support as soon as the news of the pandemic and an impending lockdown hit. Our collective thoughts turned to how we would support the most vulnerable members of our community. Leaflets and banners encouraged us to check in on your 5 nearest neighbours, and they started to build neighbourhood networks that have been growing throughout the year. Our staff were able to rapidly adapt to the demands of the situation. Staff changed their role to delivering emergency food parcels. An entire telephone network hotline sprang up overnight. Everyone took their turn on the rota, ensuring anxious residents and businesses were given the time and support that they needed. In the summer, our rangers added a playful element to our parks, mowing grass mazes in Rodden Meadow and the Showfield. And there was chalk in Victoria Park to make social distancing measurements a bit more beautiful. People litter picked while out on their daily exercise or joined in on the hoedown to keep the town tidy. And our events, our celebrations of community couldn't happen in the way that we would choose them to. We couldn't celebrate Halloween, bonfire night, or the Christmas Light the Night in our usual way. But the Halloween window wonderland, followed by making Christmas lanterns for our windows, were lovely substitutes. The Dress Up Friday Facebook group has been joyous. Our community, what can I say? We had a great base to start with, but it is fair to say that during this pandemic, we supported and enabled the scale up of the community feeling and energy that we already had here. I'd now like to share a short video with you. It was prepared for the Academy of Urbanism in October last year, when they celebrated Frome as one of the previous winners of the Great Town Award.
Frome has benefited from some transformative town-wide projects in recent years. In the headlines is the town that cured loneliness. Participation, engagement, and the principles of supporting organisations to support the community to support themselves are what we're really all about. In partnership with community groups, health connectors and businesses. But ultimately, Frome is about its residents. Our work in neighbourhoods empowers residents to build from the bottom up. It enables residents to come together to make positive change in their communities, to create what they need. Events such as Window Wonderland and street parties bring people together. Litter picks are a popular form of practical action, and planting initiatives brighten the streets. Local groups are organising themselves with WhatsApp groups, email circulars and hyper-local Facebook pages, and generate discussion about the things they'd like to change and how. The town centre share shop has inspired share boxes in our parks and open spaces, and now street networks are creating their own sharing spaces and food larders. Every day we hear stories about neighbours supporting each other with advice, knowing each other where before they didn't, rallying around in a crisis and creating a space where they're able to ask each other for help and support. That is the very essence of community.
There's so many different ways in which initiatives to keep people from feeling completely isolated.
I think it is that sense of security, of being part of this warm and caring community, and somehow the town council is not something which is out there and separate from that, but you are as much a part of the community as all the sort of 101 networks that we have in Frome, which actually hold people together.
Together, we are connected, actively participating and listening to each other, which in turn combats isolation and loneliness. This makes us better connected, ultimately healthier, and leads to a stronger, more resilient community.
Thank you, Laura.
Thanks.
That was brilliant. I've just taken myself off mute to say that was a brilliant film. Brilliant.
Thank you very much, Anne. Does anyone have any questions for Anne or any comments to make? Okay. Yeah, that was lovely to see you. And a great roundup, Anne. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anita, Rich had his hand up.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Sorry, Rich.
Yeah, just well done, Anne. It's a difficult year, blimey. Just like Anita, both of you. I mean, who would have imagined you would be in such a situation? To try and lead purely from Zoom conferences is really, really difficult, but you managed it. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. Okay, if there aren't any more questions, we'll move on to the last part of the agenda tonight, which is a look back at the fantastic Frome Window Wonderland events. And I think, Rachel, you're going to introduce this, I think, aren't you?
Well, I think actually you've done it quite nicely yourself. Just to say, the reason it features tonight is it's one of the recipients for PB vote that we took last March, and it's one of the few things that has been able to be delivered in the last year. So you're getting your value for money from them tonight. You've got a film about 2 events that they put on. So,
and well done for all the work you've done on it too, Rachel.
Thank you.
Absolutely delightful. Absolutely delightful. That was absolutely fabulous. Thank you for that, Rachel. Any questions or queries on that front? No? Okay. Sorry.
That was, and what an excellent example of how brilliant this town is. That the creativity, the joy, the love that went into that was amazing.
Yeah, here. Just before we start to wind up the evening, there was one person I did mean to give a big shout out to, and that is, as far as my presentation was concerned, I'd like to give a big shout out to Miles Macy, who did the most incredible amount of work, going all the way back, trawling back through the year to dig out an awful lot of those photographs. So I'd like to thank them for all the work they did on that. So many thank yous, Miles. Just wanted to make sure you get that credit. Okay, so I think unless there's any other questions or anything else anyone would like to raise this evening, that almost brings us to a natural close here tonight. So any further ado, or are we done? Okay, well, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you very much, Terry and Helen, for joining us and sticking with us. It's been lovely to have you. And I look forward to seeing you all next time. Many thanks. Have a good evening. Bye.